It's been great just kind of watching these projects coming here, starting in El Salvador, and just watching them grow. And seeing the growth and the potential for the kids is really what excites me the most. Is seeing the new generation of Salvadorans who are going to understand what Bitcoin really is, and they're going to be the first ones in line for that next upcoming job. And as these projects continue to grow, we can keep the talent here in El Salvador, and that's so exciting.
Jamie, Ronnie, the first Bitcoin hardware store opened up here in El Zonte. Is there Bitcoin hardware stores in other places? Was that you guys the first one to come up with that idea, or
I think I'm not sure. We haven't seen anything like what we built.
I want to say we are.
Do we want
in the world?
Should we go for
Let's
it?
go.
Should we just
Yeah.
go
first,
for it?
the first Bitcoin hardware store in the world. So.
I'm sure someone on Twitter will tell us if we're wrong.
Right.
Yes. That's always a good way to find out where other things are
Yeah,
at.
we'll claim it and then we'll get corrected.
Yeah. So I saw that for the first time a few months ago when I was driving. I live on the other side of the river, and I was driving down, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! Where did this come from? And who's doing this?" And then I found out that it was you guys, so I was super stoked. So would love to get a brief history of where you guys came from, where this idea came from, your Bitcoin history, how long you guys have known each other, how this all came together.
All right. Well, Jamie and I, we met at a Bitcoin Beach meetup in April.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice, making things happen
Yeah.
here.
So I've been living here in El Zonte now for 3 years, just over 3 years. Time's gone by really quickly. And so I would go to these Bitcoin Beach events.
But you were originally from El Salvador,
My
correct?
family's from El Salvador.
Okay.
I was born in Toronto.
You're born in Toronto.
I was
Okay.
born in Toronto, and I came back in 2014 and would come back occasionally. But after the pandemic, I decided that I needed to escape and I needed somewhere to go. And El Salvador was just the first place that I had in mind. And so living here, learning from everyone around me, and learning about Bitcoin, I decided I would stay here. And that's actually how my story kind of started. I really enjoyed the company that was around me, being here in Bitcoin Beach. And
So you were introduced to Bitcoin in El Zonte.
I would say so,
Okay.
for sure. I knew what it was before, and I might have had a couple of sats sitting on an exchange before living here, but it wasn't until actually being here that I got introduced to what it really was and its potential.
Yeah.
And I got that conviction actually being here. And that was due to the people around me. Some of the great projects that are here in El Salvador, and going to these events, going to these networking events, and just hearing people speak. And so, a faithful day in April, I met Jamie, and he was from Canada as well. So we were just, talking. He was asking me a bunch of questions about what it's like to live here. I did my best to explain, what it was like being here, how it's like to live on a somewhat of a Bitcoin
So
standard.
were you just on vacation here,
I was
or
on my
you?
fact-finding.
Okay.
I was on my fact-finding mission. I've been sort of following what was going on, and came down for a few days, and I got lucky. There just so happened to be a Bitcoin Beach meetup.
Okay.
So
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt
Yeah.
your flow there.
No, it's that's what he told me, and I think that day I was kind of just telling him what events were around because I don't think Jamie knew what was going on. But we hit it off, and he left, and I stayed here in El Salvador because this is where I live now. But then a few months later, I saw Jamie post in a group actually that he was coming back to El Salvador, and we had kept in touch, right, just here and there. But with all the people that come into El Sonte, you don't know who's coming back, who's
Yeah.
coming, who's going. But we kept in touch, and he said he was coming back. So I said, well, listen, if you need any help moving down here, you need any resources, like anywhere to live, car, whatever it may be, I'll hook you up and help you out in any way I can. He comes down, and he's pretty much telling me, he's like, I think I'm gonna stay here, or I'm not, came the first time, loved it. And in one of these moments, I'd explained to him what my issues were in Bitcoin. And one of the things I was doing at the time was actually I was getting ready to set up my node. And I had searched all over Facebook Marketplace for a Raspberry Pi, trying to set up my own node. And Jamie had told me what his background was, so I was kind of just like asking him all these questions. And it was during that time where I said, listen, this is a real problem here. I'm learning about Bitcoin, how to self-custody my Bitcoin. I consider myself somewhat techie. I like seeing gadgets and playing around with them. And so, and I'm also pretty resourceful, but I was having a really tough time just being able to get the parts that I needed to really, become sovereign. And Jamie helped me out. And so I was like, hey, what do you think of this idea of, us kind of trying to source these products for people? Because I can't be the only person struggling to do this. And if I'm struggling, I can't imagine what it must be for your regular Salvadoran who's just hearing about it for the very first time. Gets thrown there's lots of great resources, and especially here in El Salvador, Bitcoin Beach, Mi Primer Bitcoin, great resources to get you started. But then you're kind of just left in like this void, I wanted to say. And so how can we continue to support the project? How can we continue to support Bitcoin adoption here in El Salvador? And I think that's on my end, that's how the project really started. And Jamie was there to support the entire way. And so that's how I think, that's how, for me, that's how the story goes. I don't know if you have anything different to add.
Yeah, a little bit your history and how you got into Bitcoin. And
Yeah, so I started working in Bitcoin in 2013. I started a onboarding website in Canada. Made it super, super easy to buy your first Bitcoin or your first fraction of Bitcoin. And back then there was no Bitcoin ATMs. You had to like send your documents to these Mt. Gox websites, and it was just like, it was not conducive to onboarding.
Not easy.
Yeah, it was not friendly. And so started this little website. It was called quickbt.com. And you came on the website, put in your Bitcoin address, how much Bitcoin you wanted. We only did up to $50. You could buy a little bit of Bitcoin, and we'd get it to you in about 30 seconds. And so it was super fast. The whole thing was automatic. And
how would you receive payment? What was
through Canadian debit cards.
Okay.
So we only through Canadian debit cards. So it didn't support all the banks. It only supported a handful, but it was called Interac Online, and it was an online payment method. It was a workflow checkout. So you would check out, log into your bank as part of the checkout, and then it would bounce you back. We'd verify the payment, and then our system would buy the Bitcoin in real time and then deliver it to your Bitcoin address you gave us. And so we were like a non-custodial exchange. We were pretty pioneering at that time. And from 2013 to 2018, I onboarded about 90,000 early Canadian Bitcoiners.
Wow.
We were watching, Ronny was asking me for more information on the website. And
I need to verify who.
He's like, who, this is quite the story. Like, what's really going on here? And so he's like, can you have like a demo give a demo of it? Like, what did it look like? And so I was like, I think BTC Sessions did a video on the website. And so we went and pulled it up. And in the video, BTC Sessions is like, this is where I bought my first Bitcoin. And both of us are like, okay. And he obviously went out and did all kinds of cool stuff. And so I ran that for a while, got a lot of the early Canadians sort of in. And the goal was, you find out about Bitcoin and you get overwhelmed. There's like so much, figuring it out, let alone buying some. And so my sort of project back then was, let's just get them their first $20 worth really, really easily and just focus on just that. And so ran that for a while. Working as a dollar exchanger in the Bitcoin space is exhausting. And so at 5 years kind of felt like 50.
Yeah.
And took some time off after that. And then...
so at that point, you just kind of shut things down?
The banks were on us. There was all kinds of stuff happening. And the number of banks that we supported was dropping. And it got to the point where it was kind of like, this isn't innovative, this isn't exciting. Yeah. And I kind of wanted some time off, and we were non-custodial exchange. So I just sort of said, I think I'm just going to close the doors.
Yeah. That's what's nice about being non-custodial.
Right. And
you see some of these other projects that are custodial, and they're like, hey, take your Bitcoin.
Like, and there's no out.
If they don't, you're like stuck.
Right. And so we lost a couple more banks near the end of 2018. And I just said, I think I'm just gonna shut her down. Mm-hmm. There's lots of other options now. The market was sort of flush, and I wasn't innovating. So I said, I'm just gonna close it down. And so close it down, and then took a bit of time off.
So would Bull Bitcoin have been like a competitor there?
Yeah, I don't remember what. They were definitely a competitor. Francis is a friend. He had this. He had Bull Bitcoin going. I forget. It feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so
in the Bitcoin world,
and so
years feel like decades. So.
Right. And so I don't remember exactly what he was offering at that time.
Yeah.
But my service was definitely sort of the starting point in Canada for a lot of Bitcoiners, because it was just so easy, and it was one page. It was just one page. It looked quite rudimentary, and you just like Bitcoin address, how much you want, click pay, takes you to your bank, make the payment, come back, and you're done. And so it was super.
See, if I would have known that was available, I'm sure you didn't deal with U.S. citizens. But
No.
I mean, it took me a long time to actually get Bitcoin because it was so complicated.
Right.
The
And
process.
so Charlie Shrem, Bitcoin's first felon, he was doing something similar in the U.S.
Okay.
And in the first 6 months of me running my site, he got arrested and charged with money laundering. And so I'm sitting there like really worried. I'm like, am I doing something wrong here? And we weren't, and we were actually we looked at all the money, laundering, all that stuff, and we structured the business so we weren't regulated, but if we became regulated, we would already be following the rules. That was kind of how, and the small amounts was the big thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was like, it was a crazy time, and but it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was only for Canadians. We just used that debit card payment method, and so I ran that for a while. Took a bit of time off, and then obviously started following what was going on in El Salvador. And I said, I want to go down there. I want to go on. I want to see what's going on. I want to see with my own eyes. And I came down for 8 days, 4 days in the city and 4 days here. And I just got lucky. There was a Bitcoin Beach meetup. And that kind of pivoted my entire life because I came to the meetup and I met some incredible people. The caliber of people that I met in those like 4 hours was something else, and Ronny included. And I was like, what is going on? And so, went back to Canada. But every day I'm like, man, I just want to go to El Salvador. I just want to be in El Salvador. And then started messaging Ronny. He helped me find a place, got me sort of situated, and then we were hanging out a lot because we were roommates living together. And so
I had a lot of questions to ask him too.
Right. And so every night was Bitcoin, like we were talking Bitcoin and doing all this stuff, and then we were brainstorming, and Ronny had this idea of some type of retail store to kind of level up. And sort of go from level 1 to level 2 and 3 and beyond. And
my idea really stemmed from my background. Before I left Canada, I was working for a really big Fortune 500 company, Sherwin-Williams, one of the largest, and they focus on retail. The paint company. And they focus a lot on retail, but they focus a lot on customer service. That's kind of what they stood out on. And when I left, they were doing $20 billion in sales a year. So, really large, really great at what they did, and really great at systemizing everything and just having things in place. And so the idea was to offer product, but beyond the product, really offering, those workshops or offering that help, really, that one-on-one help.
Well, especially for Bitcoin wallets, because it's intimidating. I remember when I got my first one, I was like, I feel like I'm going to screw this up. And it's not that complicated, but you feel like, I'm going to screw this up.
I would watch, BTC sessions, and even after watching it 3-4 times, I'm like, I don't know if I'm still ready for this.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you just need that person, that mentor, to tell you that you're doing things correctly. And if you did one thing wrong, then to correct you and tell you exactly what it is that you did wrong. And so that was the part where I thought of, Sherwin-Williams did such a great job of teaching people and being there. Their slogan is "Ask Sherwin-Williams." So I was telling Jamie, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want people to feel comfortable coming into the store and playing with the products, using them, and then asking us any questions that they might have about self-custody, and especially for the Salvadorans. Again, that's kind of who I'm looking after or thinking of when I'm thinking of Bitcoin Beach, when I'm thinking of Bitcoin adoption, I'm thinking of El Salvador. And Jamie just made me feel so comfortable. So I think that tandem, that teamwork, it was natural.
Yeah.
I felt very confident, and after looking at what Quick BT was and looking up that BTC Sessions video, it was a no-brainer. So I started using him for my personal kind of one-on-one explanations of the node specifically is where we started.
It's a great point about, one of the things that we're offering is confidence, and to your point about sort of being like, I'm a little overwhelmed here, and then being able to sort of have somebody, no, it's fine. This is how it works. This is how it is.
Yeah.
And I was on an airline flight one time, and the stewardesses were like super unprofessional, and it made me realize, like, when someone is confident and in front of you and says, no, you can do this, you got that, it really has this ripple effect, and it makes you feel more confident about what you're doing. And anyways, on that flight, I was like freaking out. So, like, these guys are like fiddling with the lights, trying to figure out how to make the lights work. I'm like, and so it rippled the wrong way. But,
Today, someone came into the store and was just like, hey, Bitcoin's pretty expensive right now, but I'm thinking, what's the minimum I can buy here? And we have the K1 machine, and so part of the store as well was to showcase some of the products and projects, that are fantastic. Like Jamie said, so many great projects and products here, and I was like, you can buy as little as 5 cents, and you can buy this many sats with 5 cents. And he kind of just looked at me. He's like, really? So he pulled out $1 and he threw it into the K1 machine, and I just showed him how to use it, and he got it onto his Chivo app. And he was like, oh, wow. And then he put in a $5 bill like right after. And it's just that confidence.
Well, the K1 machine's so easy compared to the other ATMs that are out there, specifically the Chivo ones. So
yeah, it's great to be able to, discuss people's problems that they're having with Bitcoin, because some of them are just, they're kind of looking in the wrong direction. So the point is to guide them in the right direction. And the one thing I also told Jamie was, I feel that everyone's Bitcoin journey is different. People come from different places, different backgrounds, and no one runs the same, let's call it the same Bitcoin system. There's so many different products out there, and different products are trying to solve different problems. And so for the Salvadoran and for the person visiting here, trying to learn about Bitcoin that's not from El Salvador, there's different ways to do things. There's no one correct way. I think the only correct way really would be like self-custody, right? But there's many different ways to get there.
Yeah.
And so we want to guide them depending on what their skill level is and what their comfort level is.
Skill and comfort, yeah.
Guide them in the right direction, and that's all we can do. We can just guide. We don't tell you need to do this. We can just kind of guide you, and ultimately we let the customers decide what's best for them. We have Blockstream Jades, we have seed signers, cold cards, and Passport Foundation, and so we let people play around with the products at the store, and then decide. They don't even have to buy anything. They can go home. We send them more learning material so they can see which one they probably feel more comfortable.
And you guys
with.
sell the dice there also.
Entropy dice, textbooks, merchandise,
hammer,
the seed hammer.
Yeah, I love that.
Metal.
You guys, instead of them having to buy the hammer and the set, they can just buy the plates and then they rent the hammer, right?
Right.
That's how.
$6 a day.
Stamps, yeah.
$6 a day. Bring it back anytime tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we show you kind of the technique of how to do it. And
and that idea came from, again, meeting great people, and that idea actually came from the seed signer team, where they mentioned that you can just lend this to anybody, because as soon as you unplug it, there's no memory on it. It wipes the seed off the plate. And so I was like, well, Jamie, these are pretty expensive, and people aren't really going to use them more than a couple times. You can set up as many seed wallets or wallets as you like in one day. You only need to rent it. And so we just looked at each other, and it just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
just rent
why
it.
not?
Yeah.
And so we want to be that resource where people can come and feel comfortable, rent it out, don't have to make a big investment. Because that's also the thing. People ask me, what wallet is the best one? And so far, I think the best answer I've been able to give them is the one that you can afford right now and the one that makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
They all work very similar. And it's just, if you're looking to self-custody, there's different levels. But just the one that you can afford right now is the best one that you can go with. And so that's what we tend to tell customers, and we want to make sure that the brand shows that off as well with the products that we offer, and the retail model, being able to rent what it is that you need.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing too is, if someone comes in and they're just getting started, we'll say, just get Blue Wallet on your phone. Do you need a hardware wallet at first? Maybe not. Just start with a self-custody software wallet. Start practicing with that, and then when you're ready, come back and building that trust. It goes a long way.
Yeah, because you don't want to overcomplicate it for somebody, because then they're like, oh, this is too much work.
Right. And if they're only talking about $100 anyway, it's like, let's start with something simple. This is what you need. And when you're ready, these are the products. Take a look at the exhibits, and we're here.
Well, I love the timing of it, because there's so many businesses here that have been accepting Bitcoin for a while, and there's some of them now that have sizable stacks, and they need to move them off their phones and start to self-custody. And so I think this is perfect timing for you guys opening up.
Totally. We're seeing a good amount, more than we expected, of business customers coming in. And we also have point of sale units. We've got one in stock right now, and we're trying to get a few other ones, because Salvadoran businesses are like, hey, I have this obligation. I want to make sure I want to take advantage of it, and I want to be doing it right. And then they start building a stack, and they're like, wait a minute, it's all in some custody app.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll see somebody's phone and you see the balance, and you're like,
making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the ones who started stacking back in 2019, 2020 when the project started, they're looking at me now and they're so happy. They're like so happy to talk to me. Whereas before they're like, oh, that Bitcoin. You're the only one that pays me in Bitcoin. and now they're
now you were paying
excited.
them when Bitcoin was at like $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah, it's so different.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I see a lot of the people on Twitter talking about, where you should prepare yourself for that when that Bitcoin price just continues to rise.
Yeah, because the need for a hardware wallet, it's sometimes can change. Well, even like we've seen in the last few weeks, where
Right.
maybe you were at a level where it didn't matter that much. All of a sudden, it's a sizable
I think
amount of wealth.
I
that
think
you've accumulated.
NVK. I think this is an NVK quote, and he said that you should be protecting your Bitcoin as if it's worth 10 times as much.
Yeah,
And
because it sneaks up on you. It really
right,
does.
all of a
It's
sudden you're
all of
like,
a sudden
whoa,
you're
whoa,
like,
whoa. And the method that was appropriate when you got started is
Yeah.
not appropriate anymore. And then you're even more intimidated, and you're even more like, I don't know what to do. And so, sort of providing that that resource and kind of
The bear market was actually the best time to learn. Which is what I was telling people, and that's what the phase that I was in, right? And so the businesses that were accepting during those times, I think they understand and are starting to figure it out. And so we're just that resource for them. They're coming in, asking questions. We have more Salvadorans than I thought we would have.
Yeah, that was part of it. So the strategy was, open in Bitcoin Beach here.
Mm-hmm.
Most retail operations don't, they struggle, right? A lot of retail doesn't.
Yeah.
Most retail that opens up, they don't make it. And so trying to get a retail project that's going to work long term, we said, okay, so if we open in Bitcoin Beach, we'll get a steady stream of tourists to kind of keep us afloat right out the gate. Because of what you've done here, and then sort of we'll tee that up with Salvadorans, and we'll grow kind of the Salvadoran business sort of naturally, and then.
I love how professional you've done the store. I mean, it's not, ginormous. It doesn't need to be big. But it's like really well done. It pops. It stands out when you drive down that street. It is probably the most noticeable business on the street there, which I love.
Thank you. Yeah, we worked really hard to keep it we're kind of making it like a little Apple store. We want it to be clean inside there, and these are the different exhibits, these are the different products, different manufacturers, and you can kind of work your way. When you go inside, you can kind of work your way around in this sort of circle, and then we're working on a cafe and stuff.
Yeah, we had lots of back and forth as to where we were going to do it, because like you said, the products are so small.
Yeah.
You don't really need to have a large space. And we were going back and forth as to where we were going to do it. And then when people finally saw it, I didn't even know this building existed.
Did that building exist? I thought you guys built it.
We were the first ones, yeah.
We were the first ones to rent it.
We were the first ones to lease it.
So we approached.
Okay,
Ronny
but it was already built.
Yeah,
it was being built.
It was
Okay.
under construction.
Yeah.
Ronny approached the property owner and said, "Hey, do you guys have a tenant for this once it's built?" And,
we worked on the business plan and just kind of going back and forth, what we were planning to do and what kind of space we needed. So we looked around at Zonte and found this place, and it was about 80% done, I'd say, when we approached them. And we said, well, this is our idea. This is what we're trying to do. What do you guys think? And they gave us. We went to the table, and then came up with a deal.
So what were they building it for before? Who did they envision?
It's supposed to be a pharmacy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a pharmacy. So hopefully we didn't take a pharmacy away from town.
Sorry if you guys need a medical.
We do need a pharmacy here. But there's other buildings.
I think to the left there, or sorry, to the right. I think he's building another one now because he's happy with with what we've done and how it looks, and he's happy with it.
No, you guys have upgraded that area. It really is leveled that area up. So
that I'd say that's thanks to Jamie with the vision of keeping it clean.
Yeah, fine detail. I'm looking at everything, every little box and everything. I'm like, wait, what's this? Can you get the landlord to fix this? I'm like, oh, this to be. And so
I think that's why it stands out, because in general, in El Salvador, they're not focused on details, and so usually the paint's kind of slopped over, and then there's just things that are important maybe to foreigners that aren't important to them. And so I found that as doing construction projects, you're like, no, tape everything. Yes, I care if there's paint there. So I think that's part of why it sticks out, is it's so tidy, and it's it just pops.
Thank you.
I love that.
We were hoping to open, at least I was, Jamie can attest to that. Yeah, we were hoping to open for adopting Bitcoin. And so we were just rushing and cutting corners, like you said. And Jamie was like, nope, this is not happening. We're not going to be ready for this. It's the last 10% that's the hardest part to finish. And that's why it looks like this, because if it was for me, that store would have been half done, and I would have opened the door and everybody just come in, all the Bitcoiners on November 11th adopting Bitcoin, just come in, don't worry. There's construction at work everywhere, but it's fine.
We're a good team. We balance each other. We've got the good balance and we complement some things like that really well.
That day at the Bitcoin hardware store is always great. It's always a good day. Good idea.
Yeah, we've seen some really interesting people come in.
I'm curious. What does a day look like as far as the customers that flow through?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good sense. It's a good flow of foreigners who are coming here and wanting to see Bitcoin Beach, just like Jamie, his very first time, and people who are looking to learn about Bitcoin is what they hear online real. Coming to see if it's real.
They ask us a lot of questions about Bitcoin Beach in general. Like, it's sort of like, hey, so what's going on here?
Yeah, they want to know, what Bitcoin adoption is like in El Salvador. Where can I pay for Bitcoin? Is it really, is it the whole country or is it a small percentage? The ones who don't get a chance to spend Bitcoin, they're the ones complaining like, no, this is not true. Like I've been having such a hard time, and I just tell them, I'm like, look, it's here in El Zonte, it's a really high percentage of businesses that are accepting Bitcoin. Berlin now has a really high percentage of places that are accepting Bitcoin. San Salvador has a lot of places.
If if you're a Bitcoiner, it's very easy. The places. But if you're just walking down the street and picking the first place you go to, then
it's tough, right? And so in San Salvador, I'm like, you go to these places, you go to the big places, the Walmarts, the McDonald's, the Price Marts. They'll take Bitcoin. They'll take your Bitcoin, no problem. And so it's about setting.
And it actually works easily now. Like it used to be at Price Mart. I mean, I had one time wait there. We waited like 4 hours because they wanted it to confirm a few times, and now they're on Lightning, and it's just faster than a credit card. So it's been great just seeing how much the experience has improved.
Yeah, even the gas stations. And then some people are looking.
Which gas station? Because that's the one that I've still had issues with. Which gas station?
The closest one to us is the Puma.
Yeah,
right
the Puma
here.
just down the street.
They take it there,
and they're good. They know what they're doing.
Okay. Because I've had a lot of times they say they take it, but then it's only the Chivo app, and you're like, no, I want to pay with Bitcoin. And they're like, well, this is Bitcoin. And you have to explain to them, no, that's not really Bitcoin.
No, the Puma, they'll ask me, they'll say Lightning, and I'll say, yep, Lightning.
Okay.
And they kind of know that I think they kind of look at me and they go, okay, if it's Salvadoran, it's going to be Chivo, and if it's foreigner, it's going to be Lightning. I think
that's good to know.
I think they've kind of figured that out, yeah.
When I heard they started accepting Bitcoin, which was very recently, I went up to...
That's the new Puma.
Yeah, and they know me. Yeah. And so I was like, anytime you see me, just assume I'm going to pay Bitcoin now. So they see me and they just bring out the POS terminal.
Okay.
Like they're ready for me.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, that's where I'm going to get all my gas from now on.
And they've been doing a good job keeping it charged, keeping the device updated. Yeah. The staff are trained. There's sort of a few pillars that all have to get checked,
Well, that's the problem. If they don't have enough people spending it, then they the device is dead.
It's in the drawer.
Or they'll just be like, oh, no, Bitcoin's down right now. You're like, no, Bitcoin does not go down. We're not using Solana. We're using Bitcoin.
I'm trying to think of some good excuses I've heard. I've heard some interesting ones.
Yeah, manager's not around, or the POS systems are down, or Bitcoin's down. That's the funniest one.
But the key is to have enough purchases
that momentum
the day that it's normal for them.
And I think it was one of the, when the rollout, I wasn't here for the rollout, but when it was everywhere, I guess theoretically at one point it was in a lot of places, there wasn't that concentration. Now that the Puma's taking it, I feel like there's lots of Bitcoiners that are going there, they're making an effort, and so it's you kind of grow them on a ad hoc basis, each one kind of grows.
Well, that gasoline had been the one thing that everything else I pretty much pay in Bitcoin, but I'd given up really asking because I was frustrated. So I'm glad now I know that.
I'm working on the Texaco next door.
Okay.
There's a
tell them, hey,
there's a brand.
You're losing.
Yeah, there's competition. And I think that's something that people are. I'm seeing businesses now that a year or two ago, and maybe you can relate, Mike, that said they would never accept Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But now they are, because I think they see that they're losing business. They see that people are going to certain places repeatedly, and I do this all the time. Where for me, it's more convenient to live on a Bitcoin standard. And so when I'm choosing between two places to eat, if I know one place doesn't accept Bitcoin and I don't want to ask them, because I do ask all the time, so they can repeatedly hear it. I don't have cash. I don't walk around with fiat on me. So I'm just going to go to the place that I know accepts Bitcoin.
Support the Bitcoin
establishments. And I think those businesses are actually starting to see that now.
Yeah.
And so businesses that I thought would never be accepting Bitcoin are now accepting Bitcoin. So when people come to me, they're like, I just bought something from over there with Bitcoin out. What? Really? Since when?
Yeah, I've had that happen too. Ones that I'd ask, and they were they'd start to get grumpy at me. So I just stopped going. And they're like, no, you can pay with Bitcoin there. I'm like, since when?
It's a good problem to have. It's exciting. It's exciting that the Salvadoran businesses are using what is now a global advantage, right? Because that's why people are coming. That's the people that we get coming into the store. I'd say right now it's about 80-20 split between foreigners that are coming and want to experience what this is, everything that they've seen.
At the Bitcoin hardware
At
store.
the Bitcoin hardware
so
store,
80% foreigners right now.
Correct. And then 20% Salvadorans who are looking to upgrade, looking to learn about self-custody. Like you said, have been building a stack, and now that stack has gotten bigger in fiat price denomination. And then Salvadorans who are just hearing about it, seeing the price go up. Like the gentleman today I had 2 Salvadorans and 3 foreigners. So that's a pretty good split. The other day was just a couple of Salvadorans looking to use the K1 machine. And so the split has been very surprising, and I'm very excited. And so myself and Jamie, we talk about how, as the business grows, the Spanish English has to be, whoever's at the store, Spanish, English, and Bitcoin are the 3 languages you have to speak to be an employee of the Bitcoin hardware store.
Totally.
Yeah, because we have been considering or talking about how we can grow the Bitcoin hardware store and scale it. People have been asking us, when are you going to open a store in San Salvador? When are you going to open a store here in this country? And we're like, well, we just opened it.
It's been 3 weeks.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. We've had some people come from far off. Where are some of the places? That was like Iceland.
We had our first visitors from Iceland, and there was a family, and she was so excited, and they were talking about how it's so difficult where they're from to use Bitcoin. So we've had Iceland, South Africa. Today I had people from Germany. Just from all over. The Koreans.
Right,
the Koreans were fantastic. They were so excited.
Yeah.
They're like, oh wow, I can buy everything with Bitcoin, and sometimes they just want to buy something.
Yeah.
Right, to experience their first Lightning transaction.
Yeah.
And so
I love too that you guys have the K1 there, because then for tourists that have never used Bitcoin before, they can download
onboard them right away.
Yeah. One of the mobile wallets.
Mm-hmm.
They can buy Bitcoin right there with the K1, and then they can go around town and spend it.
The other day I had a customer who she said she wanted to buy, I don't think she has any Bitcoin from the sound of it, but she said she wanted to gift her grandkids Bitcoin. And so she's like, what's the easiest way for me to gift my grandkids Bitcoin? And I showed her the K1 machine, and then right beside it, we have the Tianki Bolt cards.
Uh-huh.
Like you can buy these Bolt cards, and then you can load them up with as little Bitcoin as you like, or as much Bitcoin as you like. She's like, this is fantastic. She bought one for each of her grandkids, and then she just loaded them up right there. And she's like, oh, my kids are going to love this.
No app required.
Yeah,
right.
nothing
Because
required.
on the back of the Tianki card, it's got the deposit QR code.
So now she just bought them she bought about 3,000 sats at that time.
Right.
And I told her, I'm like, you know what? In the future, that'll be $3,000 worth of
Who knows?
Bitcoin you just bought.
Yeah.
And so she was very excited how easy it was. She was in and out in about 5 minutes. And she was super excited. She said she never bought anything with Bitcoin before, but she just wanted to gift it to her grandkids because she knew it was important.
It's fun seeing customers' eyes light up. You know, there's like a kid in a candy store, and that's kind of what we tried to build is like where you can come and come into the store and you're like, wow, like I've seen all these products online, but I've never seen them all in the same place. And I can actually try them. They're on. Like, so the wallets are on. We have dummy seeds out. And we sort of show, okay, this is what a seed looks like. And we kind of have a whole spiel we give them. And you can actually, press the buttons and feel what they're like and mess around. And I wouldn't recommend sending any Bitcoin to them because the seeds have probably been seen by lots of people now. But you can sort of play around with the device and get a sense of like the Cold Card MK4 is one of our favorite devices. It's a lot smaller than you think.
Yeah.
When you first open it up, you're like, wow, this thing's pretty small. Like it's compact, and which is good for concealing it and all that. But you don't realize it, and so it's great to sort of see it, feel it, touch it, and sort of an experience that you can do in person that you can't do online. And
we just want it to feel comfortable, right? I think that's the main goal of the store is make people feel comfortable at whatever stage they're at.
Yeah.
Because people come in at different stages. You'll have people who are like, oh, I already have all of these.
Yeah.
This is cool. I'm glad you have them. And then they'll buy like a sticker just because they want to support. And it's like, oh, that's great. That's fantastic. And then we just, we chop it up. We talk back and forth, any ideas. And they're asking about El Salvador, what it's like opening up a business in El Salvador, what it's like to live here, where can they build a community. Just people are very optimistic. And lots of people have lots of questions about El Salvador and what it's like to open up a business, start a family. Where can they go? What can they visit? What can they see? So it's not just tourism anymore, but it's people who are really looking to grow and spread this
relocate.
Bitcoin
No,
adoption,
they see like themselves as leaving their home country and coming here to put down roots.
Correct.
Totally.
That's the-
Totally. And
Yeah.
we have the whole community board, a big community board with a bunch of different sort of local businesses and immigration help, rental cars, all that kind of stuff, tours, all kinds of information. So people sort of go and check out the community board and they're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
So
We want to be that place where people can find what it is that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And we are all trying to support. We're trying to support everybody who has a great project, great product, and we want El Salvador to grow. I think that's part of our mission, part of our goal.
and we've definitely put a focus on domestic El Salvador companies, like with the K1 machine, Tianki, and like and the merchandise. We try to get all the merchandise locally. We're trying our seed metal plates. We have them made here in El Salvador, and so we're trying to sort of have a domestic
Products.
approach for everything. Yeah, and people really appreciate that. And we've got, I don't know if you can see in there, but inside we've also got two big monitors. One shows the time chain calendar, and the other one shows mempool.space. And so we sort of use mempool.space to sort of explain, what the mempool is, how fees work, how how blocks are created. Go here's the blockchain, here they are, and you can see the times, and we can kind of give people a crash course in like 5 minutes on just some concepts. And it was fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I enjoy it. I enjoy being there.
Yeah, it's just Bitcoin all day. All day.
I don't know what else I'd
the
be
ultimate
doing.
Bitcoin retail store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super happy.
It's like I tell people about El Salvador in general, but especially being there, it's like you're at a Bitcoin conference. You just got people stopping by and wanting to talk about Bitcoin, and you meet people that you've never met before, but you have this instant connection, or people that you through Twitter that all of a sudden you're like, wait, we know each other, but not in real life, and so it's
Totally. And yeah, each kind of there's like it's like almost like a bunch of different vendor booths, and here are the different vendors, and we sort of curated it to what we think people sort of at level 2 and level 3 sort of would need,
And the important thing is it's Bitcoin only as well.
Yeah.
That was a big part for us as well. Picking out the brands was not easy. There's so many different projects, so many different products out there. But the one thing that we both agreed on was it needed to be Bitcoin only.
We're focused on solving the money, and let's stay focused on that. And
I love that.
yeah, it's obviously a great.
Yeah, we will.
How long's it been open now?
3 weeks and change, maybe.
No,
This might be week
just
4
it's we're completing week 4
of the
so we're
soft
moving on to-
launch.
on
So
to
we
week
just kind
5.
of quietly opened. We didn't have any like announcement or anything.
Yeah.
We just all of a sudden the door was open and we're like, all right, let's see what happens.
I think we opened because everybody was asking us when
Yeah,
we
Yeah.
yeah. I was asking you guys. I was like, hey,
When's it gonna open?
looks ready.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And that's why we didn't want to put the sign up until we were pretty much ready to
Yeah,
go.
we waited. Yeah, but then we were like, okay, let's get it up. And then
Yeah.
as soon as it came up, it was like, uh-oh. we
Yeah.
started hearing from everybody.
Pandora's box opened up.
Yeah. But so we're planning a launch event soon.
Yeah.
And we'll have a sort of a formal launch. And so we're just kind of refining everything. It's interesting just collecting the data on like what are people asking? How long do they spend in the store? When do they come? We get a lot of sort of rush in the morning and rush in the afternoons. Sort of the middays a little quieter.
Are you guys planning on doing anything during the Bitcoin week around the halving party?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're targeting a grand opening during the halving events when everyone's
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
We haven't finalized anything yet.
You should definitely do that.
But
'cause
yeah,
there'll be a lot of people
everyone's
here.
here. We're definitely going to be open, and we'll be here.
Yeah.
And we'd like to do like a ribbon cutting, and have a whole.
Yeah, if we can get it organized and have it done, because we are focusing as well on the side there. You don't see it in the photo, but
On the left.
Yeah, on the left, we want to have. There's this space where we would like to host workshops and have a little cafe so people can sit down. Because the store is quite small, and so people come in, and by the 4th or 5th person, it's
crowded.
It's crowded.
Yeah.
Correct. And so we want there to be a space where you can come, sit down, have a coffee, chat with people who are there, and
Free
Salvadoran, free Wi-Fi. We offer free Wi-Fi.
It's
for
already there.
everybody.
Yeah.
And so we're waiting for that part to be complete before we announce it.
Who are
to
you
the
guys
world.
using for your Wi-Fi?
What's that one?
Multinet.
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 Yeah. Multinet. Yeah, we're using them.
I've had tons of issues with my internet lately.
Who have you got
let me
here?
know. I think we use Multinet.
Okay. We've been pretty good.
There's one day where it was down.
I feel like on that side of the river it works better, but I don't know if it's just my house or if it's just me, but I'm just like.
We also have a
what's
backup
going
though
on?
because of that reason.
Yeah, we have a
Okay.
dual WAN setup, so we also have Tigo SIM
Tigo.
card.
Okay.
So we have a SIM card as well. So we don't, if there are little interruptions, we're not
And
feeling
then there was
them.
that one time where they were both down.
Yeah, right. There was this.
Well, I think I'm going to switch mine all over to Starlink because we're using
Yeah.
that down in Punta Mongo and it's been working really well. So it's because part of the problem is the lines run here. If there's like one post gets hit by a semi or something, it takes the whole system down.
Everyone's down. Yeah. Or you can do the dual. We like the dual.
Yeah,
The dual WAN's nice, and it just automatically figures it out, and you can program it to sort of which one you want to be priority.
So you just have a SIM card in the other.
Yeah, so we have.
I'm not technical at all.
There's the modem.
So I'll have to come look at it. And see.
Standard modem, and then there's another modem. It's literally just a little box. It's like a phone. You put a SIM card in, and then it's got a network cable, and both of them go into our router.
But it knows like if one's down, to automatically switch over to the other.
Yeah, the router has 2 spots for internet, and the router's programmed to do everything on the main one, and I think it's like 10 seconds. Check to make sure, and it pings some service, and it checks, and then if it doesn't get a response, then it switches everything over to the second one. And we have it like that because the second one is like paper gig. It's a cell phone.
Yeah.
If it was Starlink, then we'd probably just split the load, and just packets would just get split across both of them. But yeah, we can come over and we'll show you how it works. We were thinking about bringing the free Wi-Fi to the Bitcoin Farmers Market. Yeah. Because everyone's at the Farmers Market and they don't have data, and so we're like, we should provide free Wi-Fi at the market. Yeah. And so Ronny just had that idea yesterday, and so that's something we're concocting. We're gonna figure it out.
We're trying to support. We want to make it easy.
Well, let us know. We'd like to help sponsor that too.
Okay.
So
sweet.
I'm not technical at all, so
well,
you figure it out, and we'll figure out a way to pay for it.
Right, free Wi provided by Bitcoin Beach. Yeah, no problem. There's a little agree page too, so we can actually put logos and stuff.
Well, you guys can do it as the hardware store. We just want to help out. And make
sweet.
Sure that
Thank you.
Because I know that can be like you're like telling somebody how easy it is, and then they're like, oh, but I don't have Wi-Fi.
And you finally get there. You get so far in the sales process, and then it's like,
it happens at the store, and then I'm like, oh no, we have free Wi-Fi. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, okay. So then they have no excuse. Yeah. I feel like sometimes they don't want to buy something. I'm like, no, we got free Wi-Fi. You can get that $1 fare. It's okay. It'll be fine. We'll make it work.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So it's been a great month. Very excited for what's to come. Very excited about the people coming in. And I was telling Jamie, I was pretty scared, worried and nervous, that this wasn't going to work out as well as I thought, because you think of Bitcoiners and they already have everything that they need, right? And so I was like, where's the new market? As someone who's built businesses, worked with large companies before, where's our new market coming from? Which is obviously Bitcoin is still at a very early stage, but in my opinion, it's taking a little bit longer than I would have liked.
Yeah.
And so that was a genuine worry, a genuine concern of mine. What if we already have products that people already have and are already using? And it's turned out that no, people are excited about the store. People are excited to support what we have going on.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And lots of people like to have an additional device. They don't want to have everything.
Right, and they'll just toy with it. They're like, hey, let's try this, and then I'll migrate a couple bucks to it, and then if I get more comfortable, once I'm confident, then I'll switch everything.
Lots of people really want to upgrade from their old ledgers and whatnot.
Yeah, we get a lot of people coming and say, well, I have a hardware wallet, but I'm not really that comfortable with it. Yeah. And I wanna what should I be using? That's an interesting one. I've heard a lot of that.
Well, I'm gonna have to come over and get some lessons on some of these other ones, because I have a cold card, but it's just not very user friendly. I don't like to move the chip out and do this and that, and so
there's a whole it's high tech.
Yes. I'm not a techie, so you guys will have to.
I like the cold card because of all the security features. Like they have these if someone's doing a $5 wrench attack, they've got the duress pin, and so you can enter a pin to destroy the device or lock yourself out for a week, or they have all kinds of cool features like that. And so, but it can be a little.
See, but for somebody like me, I'd be the type that I would oh wait, that's the pin. I'll enter it in and
destroy.
Nice. I've grown to appreciate those things because I'm not as techy as Jamie is, but I like playing around with the things. And when I saw the cold card, I was super intimidated by it. But now I've come to appreciate what it does and the mind behind it.
Yeah.
I think the team, NVK and that whole CoinKite team, I just look at the products and I'm like, okay, I'm understanding why you've done everything the way you have. OpenDime, a product that I had no idea what it was before we got it to the store and before Jamie introduced it to me. And I was like, well, wow, this is great. This is such a genius way of being able to move Bitcoin, without really having to move on chain.
Yeah.
But you can secure, it's secure, no one's looked at that seed. and it's a product that I think could last forever. And so I'm still playing with a lot of the products too, right? Which is great. I think
that's
I
the
have
fun
the
thing
best
about
job in
having
the
that
world.
store. You get to do what you want to be doing. It doesn't feel like work.
We can order all the latest stuff, and we're like, all right, let's try this out. Let's see what's going on. And
yeah, it's pretty.
Put the rest of them on the shelf.
So I know it. Some people might say like, oh, but it's just like a small store. But for me, it was like, wow, this is like a physical representation of what like is happening all over El Salvador. Because we see the beginning stages of these companies setting up and getting ready, but it takes a little while to actually roll things out. But this was like a physical, like, no, look, things are transforming here. Which brings up another subject that might be a little more delicate. And I want to preface this with saying we're all super fans of El Salvador. We think what's happening here is amazing. We are heavily invested here, but there have been, you posted something on Twitter the other day about some concerns that you have of trying to operate a business here. And so I think it's important that we flesh these things out really so they can be fixed. And so that we make sure that this continues to be the hub for Bitcoiners.
Totally.
So tell me a little bit about what the things you've run into, and then I'll share some of the concerns I have, the things I'm seeing.
So I have another startup. It's
and explain what your startup is too, because it's really cool. So
thank you. So I have another company. It's called acceptln.com, and it's a website. You can go on this website and you can send Satoshis over the Lightning Network to any email address that has not consented or not pre-configured in any way. You can just type in someone's email address. Gives you a little numpad. You can type in how much you want to send them. It gives you an invoice. You can pay it to them. And previously, before AcceptLN, if you wanted to send somebody some Satoshis, you're getting somebody started with Bitcoin Lightning, getting somebody started with Bitcoin, you'd have to get them to set up a wallet, and then you can send them some Satoshis. And that's the same thing with Bitcoin too. They have to get a wallet, and then you can get Bitcoin. And it's a tiny barrier, but it is a barrier. And to get a wallet.
No, but even if you're like dealing with a waiter or something, you're like, hey, I want to tip you in Bitcoin. They're like, I don't have a wallet, and they don't have their phone with them. You're like, and they write down your email address for me.
Right, and you have to make some important decisions. You have to pick which wallet you want to understand the custody trade-offs. There are a couple of minutes of decisions, and you can't really do that with a waiter, with somebody right there. So with AcceptLN, it kind of flips it around. You just get their email address, type in their email, send them some sats. We short custody the Satoshis, and then we send out a welcome to Bitcoin email. And they get this email, and it's got all the information they need to pick their different wallet, the different trade-offs. They can take up to 60 days to pick the wallet that they want. And then once they're set up, they click the claim link, and there's a super easy claim process. They make an invoice on their wallet and paste it in there, and then we fire them Satoshis. And as long as you claim within 60 days, it's totally free. We don't want to be your forever bank. So after that, we start charging a daily inactivity fee and send you reminder emails and all that. But so we started this company up as kind of a first foyer into Bitcoin Lightning in El Salvador. I started to get excited about Bitcoin Lightning. I said, all right, what could I make? And came up with this concept to help onboard people, and got incorporated here, got registered with the central bank here under the Bitcoin law, and got the temporary authorization to run a Bitcoin company here. And be a wallet provider and a payment processor. So you can also use this for businesses. So if you're a business can just type in like a business email, and they can accept Bitcoin Lightning very easily without having to do a lot of setup.
Yeah.
And especially for a business, some businesses will accept Bitcoin Lightning very infrequently. And so with this service, they can just very quickly get set up and then kind of test the waters and see how it goes. And so we got payment processor and wallet services, and everything's going great. There's a bunch of provisions to the Bitcoin law that companies are held to here, which is, I think, a good thing to make sure they're accountable. But there's sort of informally sort of looking the other way on a few of them. And they said, no, you don't need to worry about that. Don't need to worry about that. You're a startup. Don't worry about it. You're just getting started. And about 45 days ago, we got this email sort of saying, hey, we'd like to have a meeting. I had a meeting with them, and they said, no, we need to make sure you're doing sort of everything under the Bitcoin law, which inherently I don't have a problem with. I want to follow the law, I want to do the right thing here. But some of the things they were asking for were discouraging. And the first thing, the first thing they sort of asked us for is, hey, we want all of your data. We want all of your customer data, your transactional data, so that we can, review it. And that includes customer information, personal identifying information. And I sort of said, whoa, what do you mean you want all my data? They have not pushed hard on it, which is good.
And that's the one that I'm most concerned, because I'm hearing from other companies too that they're saying, hey, they're pushing us for all of our, history of all transactional data, including, and that's
I have
not the essence of Bitcoin.
Right. And I understand that in, the financial world, if El Salvador wants to play ball with, and they are trying to rebuild their reputation globally, and it's important that El Salvador does that, they do have to have rules. If there's large amounts, they might say, hey, we want the details on this transaction. It was $250,000. Hey, accept LN, we want, the details of that. And that's fair to sort of spot, say, hey, we need information on this. And if you want to play ball in the global financial world, I understand, you have to do that. There has to be some give and take, but to sort of say carte blanche, we want everything. And to, again, they haven't been firm on this one, but they asked for it. And that kind of like took me aback. I was like, what? And so we gave them a data dump without those columns, with just, here's the transaction, just to give you a sense of how big we are. We're not very big. We've onboarded about 1,000 people to Bitcoin Lightning. We're not that big a company. The transactions are mostly 50 Satoshis. A customer will send just a little bit just to try it out. It's mostly already Bitcoin people testing out the service to see how it works before they recommend it and use it to onboard people. But they're tiny transactions. And so from a basic data dump without any personal information, you can get a sense of how big the business is. And I think that's fair. And then the other thing they wanted was audited financials. And again, if you're custodying a lot of customer funds, that probably makes sense. But if you're a small Lightning startup, a one-man show, by the way, if you're a small Lightning startup, having audited financials is pretty cumbersome. And furthermore, I'm not even sure, and I am fielding some auditors, trying to get some auditors just to sort of go down this path. Who can audit and properly put a rubber stamp on a Lightning node and look at this is not a public blockchain.
Yeah.
This is private, cryptographic proofs on your Lightning node. So who has the technical expertise in an auditing firm to do that? I don't know if anybody globally yet does. And so I'm not even sure I can provide meaningful audit information.
And I'm, as I've said before, I'm very untechnical. So maybe this wouldn't be a concern, but would letting an auditor in to review that, is there any security issues that would arise with that, or is that not really?
There may be. There may be, like just saying, here's all here it is.
Yeah.
They may be able to take that data and then make transactions on our behalf. I'm not 100% certain because I haven't gone in. I'm not even super far in the raw Lightning transactions.
Yeah.
I'm using the Thunder Hubs and the LNDs, the software that's available, and the node software, and that's what I'm using to run this company. And so there may be issues there where it's like you're asking me for the private portion. You could sweep the funds, and so I can certainly take them in and show them the node and say, here's the node. Here it is under a few different display. Here's a Thunder Hub. Here's a Lightning terminal. Here's a few different ways to see the transactions. But for them to meaningfully audit it, you sort of need a double check. You kind of have to. If they were auditing Bitcoin on-chain transactions, I would give them my records. They could go and audit those on-chain separately and sort of have a double check and say, all right, we believe what you're saying. And so I'm not even sure I'm able to produce audited Lightning. The company just has a Lightning node, and all the transactions are Lightning. It's Lightning only, and so I have concerns about that. And so I'm hoping that there'll be some dialogue here and sort of maybe like a bit of a working group and say, hey, these are the things that we're running into. I think what makes the most sense, at least just the quick solution, is if you're doing under this much volume, or if you're custodying this much funds, if you're under this line, you're in the startup camp. You're still a startup. We want you here. We want to incubate startups, and you're exempt from this, and this, as long as you're not custodying over $100,000 of customer funds or something like that. Some number, 50,000, whatever the number is, and as long as you're under that, you're fine. And that was kind of what they were doing before. Is they were kind of just not enforcing certain portions because they wanted to foster. And this is my understanding.
And in all fairness, there is risk with any custodial service that they could rug pull, whether it's
100%.
Wallet of Satoshi or your company or Blink Wallet, and so
totally
it's
a real deal, and that's
is a real.
It's a problem, and we've seen it over and over and over again over the last.
I think that falls on the user, that they have to weigh that, and that anytime any government body gets involved, that usually leads to more problems because then data gets leaked everywhere and it turns into a mess. So I don't think that that's the right solution, but I understand what their concerns are and what they're trying to,
what they're
trying to cover their bases. They don't want a
Right.
black eye of like, hey, there's a company we approved that rug pulled.
Japan wasn't happy about Mt. Gox. These countries are not happy about their embarrassments, and so there has to be a balance.
Yeah,
I understand that, and so my goal is with this, with the companies that I start, whether it was QuickBT or AcceptLN, is to just do small transactions. And so if the amount of money that the relationship that I have with the customers is $50, $100, $200, the impact is so much less, and that could also be something that could be codified into law. It's like, hey, if your relationship with each customer is small, you're more of a convenience product, you don't need to do all of this stuff. And there's a lot of potential convenience products out there, and we want to support them. Like, we want them to exist, and we want them to come here.
And in all fairness, El Salvador's trying to figure this out because they are going first, and so anytime you go first, you figure it out as you go.
So I'm confident that we will figure it out. I'm actually not. I made this sort of comment. I responded to John Attack. I made this comment, and it kind of all of a sudden there was like 60,000 impressions or something, and I was like, I've got 500 followers. Like, this is there's a lot. And so, but I do want to figure it out. And this AcceptLN is like a 2-page website, and it's kind of a litmus test in a sense of like, hey, how easy is it to just start a Lightning company here, get a corporation set up, get a registration under the Bitcoin law, run the company, and how easy is it? And if there are problems, let's fix them.
Yeah.
And let's make sure that we can keep attracting the next startup. And so I actually am pretty hopeful. Sort of in my comment, I sort of said, we're weighing options. I don't know what to do. We may have to move our corp, but I'm sort of like, it's just so serious that if we don't solve it, we would have to or close.
Yeah.
And so let's find a solution.
Let's figure it out.
Let's figure it out. Yeah.
No, and that's why it's so great that we have Stacy in the Bitcoin office that
advocating.
Kind of sits there as a liaison, and like I said, a lot of times there's things we don't know about. They're getting pressure from, whether it's the U.S. government or the IMF. And
I don't have the clearance. Yeah, I don't have the clearance. I understand.
Threatening to kick them off the SWIFT system and all of these things. And so, but on the other hand, I have known other people who came to El Salvador planning on setting up a company and said, it doesn't make sense. Like, the requirements are too stringent, and for what I'm doing, I could never afford it. And they go set up somewhere else.
Right.
And so we don't want to see that happen. And so I'm hopeful that they're able to, as they go through the process, figure out, okay, these are the things that are important, but the rest of it, we can get rid of the red tape.
And check a balance and sort of say, hey, if you're going to be a massive custodial exchange handling millions and millions of dollars, then this is what we need from you. And if you're a startup or you're doing this, then we don't need any of this stuff from you, and you're protected. And kind of figure out that structure. Yeah. Right now, the Bitcoin law is in place. Obviously, it's groundbreaking. You couldn't have foreseen everything, but it's like, hey, let's try and let's modify this and amend it. And so that's what we'd like to see. And there's another area too. There was the $200 thing that John Attack brought up, and they've changed that.
Yeah,
they've changed. I think it's coming into effect soon, and it's $25,000. And so there's sort of a whole tax side of things, and there is a new tax system here that's pretty comprehensive, and so that's interesting. I'd like to have some feedback on that too. And there's a lot of, I feel like there's dialogue, and so I'm hoping we can sort of find a working group and get everybody talking. And
well, I think it's great that, they're all in on Bitcoin, and they know with that comes self-sovereignty and privacy is important, and that and so I know there's parts of the government that want to know everything, but hopefully there's other parts in the government they're like, hey, if we want this to be the hub for Bitcoiners, we need to make sure that we find that right balance where they feel like, yes, we need people to pay the taxes they owe, but otherwise we don't need to be in everybody's business and know all their transactions. And
a lot of the target market, like the people El Salvador's trying to attract and bring here, are leaving places where the government is like going down the wrong path. Yeah. Like I used to live in Canada, and it's just sort of feels like it's dangerous, the amount of the direction they're going and the amount of power that some institutions have. And, there was a saying a couple of years ago that I heard. It was called turnkey tyranny. And it's a concept, but the idea is that, when you give the government all of these powers, there's sort of turnkey tyranny. It's too, there needs to be a balance. And, we're sort of going through that growing phase here. So I think it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. But yeah, I made the comment, and all of a sudden it was like, whoa.
No, but I think it's important for us to. We're obviously pro El Salvador. We what the government here is doing is amazing. We're 100% support, but when we see things that aren't working,
we got to be able to talk about
Chivo
it.
Wallet or these type things, we got to speak up to make sure they get fixed, because otherwise people are just going to leave. And so that's what we don't.
And there's
want
this
to
silent, if people just silently exit, that's not good for the project.
No.
And I think, especially from, people like yourself and people that have El Salvador's best interests at heart. Like I'm a huge believer in the project. I upended my whole life and moved here. When I say things, I'm not saying it to be hurtful. I'm saying I'm trying to be constructive, and just sort of figuring out that balance from the constructive people and sort of saying, hey, we want this to work. Let's make it work. And so I think we'll get there. Yeah. We'll get there. It's coming.
So just kind of to finish up, I'm curious for you, Ronny, living here for 3 years. You've been here.
Yeah.
What are you seeing as far as Bitcoin adoption, both in El Zonte and then like nationwide? Like, is it, do you feel like it's improving? Do you feel like it's kind of plateaued, or what are you seeing?
No, I definitely see it improving. I see a lot of people who were negative about it at the very beginning now kind of asking more questions, and even them just going from negative to neutral. That's an improvement. I'm seeing a lot of more businesses accepting Bitcoin, wanting to learn, asking the right questions, being curious about Bitcoin curious, I want to call them. We have the Bitcoin Berlin project now. You have a whole town that's just totally, on board with what's
Which is
happening.
so exciting to see that just like blossom up.
I don't know if you've been up there, but
I haven't yet. A couple times I was supposed to go and things came up, but we've been communicating with them and trying to support the different things. But
I've gone a few times now.
I love that. Like that's what we
yes.
wanted to see, was these decentralized little like projects popping up everywhere.
It's great.
I just want to add one thing to the Berlin. I had an experience when I was in Berlin. There was a person had a little tienda. They were selling souvenirs, and I went to go buy something from them. I asked them if they take Bitcoin, and the way they responded to me was the most like organic. Like, yep, no, I take it. Like without hesitation or without like grunts, not like, oh yeah, we take Bitcoin. It was like, yep, like I don't have to give you change. It might go up in value. I can use this at the grocery store, no problem. And just the way she said it just like struck me. I was like, wow, like it wasn't like, oh my God, yes. It was just like a yep. And just the way she said it was super cool. It was like, wow, like you see Bitcoin accepted in lots of different places, but to just be like, I'd actually like prefer it. Like this is easier.
Seeing the Bitcoin accepted sign is fantastic. I don't know. It's hard to explain. You really have to go up there to see it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. The Bitcoin Farmers Market has become now my favorite event on a bi-weekly basis. I look forward to that.
It's a huge social.
Yeah.
Like, huge.
The Bitcoin Beach meetups. There's so many different events now. So many different places for people
but
to
I love
learn.
that these other things are happening in Berlin, because I was saying, I feel like we need some friendly competition, because I feel like some of the people in El Zonte had become kind of complacent. Like,
Agreed.
and not appreciate what an amazing revolution is happening here. So now to see these other cities grabbing on, they're like, oh wait, we want to make sure we remain like the Bitcoin place that
Correct.
people
It's
think
it's
of when
good
they
friendly.
come,
It's
so.
good friendly competition.
Yeah.
I want to say.
100%.
Yeah, and
It creates more substance for the fact-finding trips that people are doing. They're like, okay, I'm going to go do a couple days in Berlin, a couple days in San Salvador, a couple days in Bitcoin Beach, do some surfing.
The other
all
day
this
we went
stuff.
to
They can,
we went to Santa Ana. Remember
right?
that meetup?
Yeah, we went to a Santa Ana meetup.
There's a group
on
over
behalf of the
there.
store.
Yeah, the stuff that Me Permitted Bitcoin is doing with the Bitcoin diploma,
Yeah.
then Node Nation going into the schools and teaching kids how to build a node. Like what I'm seeing at I think the level that most people don't see, which is the headline price, that doesn't matter here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really great.
Well, no, but that's what's so funny. Nobody hardly ever. I mean, occasionally people will remark like, "Oh, wow, I can, our budget will work better because we have things have gotten cheaper in Bitcoin prices." But nobody really talks about price. Like
We
it's
barely
just
hit-
like
we have-
Bitcoin. No, it's how many sats is it? Like it's.
We have a couple TVs in the store, and there's no like big price TV, and it's true. It's just everyone's like,
Yeah, it's been great just kind of watching these projects coming here, starting in El Salvador, and just watching them grow. And seeing the growth and the potential for the kids is really what excites me the most. Is seeing the new generation of Salvadorans who are going to understand what Bitcoin really is, and they're going to be the first ones in line for that next upcoming job. And as these projects continue to grow, we can keep the talent here in El Salvador, and that's so exciting. I have a lot of friends who run businesses here in Zonte, and they're excited. They're no longer bullying me about the price of Bitcoin. Now they're wanting to know, well, what can I do to get more Bitcoin? And so it's been a great, obviously it's been a great year, 2024, I'd say. And so I'm really excited to see, how El Salvador can continue to grow. People like Jamie who are coming here, bringing excitement and bringing great projects to El Salvador. So I'm on board with what Jamie says. I want to make sure more people feel comfortable coming here to El Salvador, start new projects, support the system, and then support the Salvadorans. And I'm super excited to see where we go. I'm excited for 2024.
So have you gotten your passport yet?
Thankfully I had my passport.
You had it already.
I had my passport.
Okay.
Yeah, my
Awesome.
parents took care of that for me
Okay.
when I was younger,
Okay.
and so that was a little easy for me, and I'm super proud to have it.
I thought I was going to be able to get mine this year, but I guess I need to have one more year of residency. They told me.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Oh no, one more year.
Oh yeah, it sucks. You got to stay here. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to have it.
I know.
I'm like,
I know.
maybe they'll change it next year and make it harder.
Right.
So like,
I'm in year one, so I'm
okay,
just getting started, and but yeah, it's
exciting.
so exciting. It's great to be part of something that's just going up
Yeah.
in a world that kind of feels like it's teetering. It's so cool to be somewhere where things are going up, and it's energizing.
Yeah.
It's energizing.
The one thing that I can say, I remember at adopting Bitcoin 2022 was my first Bitcoin conference. Adopting Bitcoin 2023, how the second day I went to all Spanish sessions and seeing all the Salvadorans, and then having them reach out to me and be like, "Hey, you're Ronny, right?" And in Spanish, and people that spoke no English, and I was just, it was such a great moment to see that the difference from 2022 to 2023 and how that's growing. And then the Santa Ana meetup, where it's people that I never met before, these new faces, but they're so excited that they started their own meetup, started their own group, and they're orange pilling people in their own community. It's absolutely fantastic to see. It's fantastic to see from the ground level going up. Yeah, I'm excited.
I think that's a good note to finish on, but let's make sure people know where they can follow you guys on Twitter, any websites. Obviously, they're gonna have to come to El Zonte to come to the store.
Got to come to the store. On Twitter, you can follow us at @tbhs_sv, and the website's tbhs.sv.
You can email us.
You can email us hello or hola at my Spanish is I'm working on it at tbhs.sv.
Okay.
So.
And what about you guys? Are you guys on Twitter?
Yeah, we're both on Twitter. You can
Ronny Avendano on Twitter.
Mine's like a keyboard smash. It's like Jamie Robinson. So you can find me. I'm there.
And then if you're looking for us here in El Zonte, we're at Entrada Número 2, so entrance number 2 to Playa El Zonte, Bitcoin Beach.
Yeah. Google Maps too.
Mm-hmm. BTC Maps and the Blink Maps.
BTC Maps. Yeah, we're on all the maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, on all the maps. So.
And then what about the other project? Where can people find that?
Acceptln.com.
Acceptln.com.
So yeah,
I'm gonna check that out.
Please check it out. Yeah, acceptln.com. I'd love your feedback. You just acceptln.com. You'll just see it right at the front. There's an email address at the front, and you just type in whatever email, and you can take it away, and it'll explain sort of the process. And so thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
really appreciate it.
This was a lot of fun.